welcome back. I hope you guys had a wonderful summer. I'm excited for the new school year and I hope you are too. If you're new to first grade, welcome. If you've been in first grade before, welcome back. I hope you guys are really excited for this school year. As we're moving into the new school year, I just want to take a moment to talk to you guys a little bit about science in first grade. I know that sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming with all of the curriculum that we have to cover, trying to figure out what you have to teach, where you have to teach it, when do you even have time to fit it in. And so today what we're going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time just making sure you're familiar with what it is you're going to teach this year and how you can fit it into your day, kind of giving you some of the suggestions of some of the things that I do. So the first thing you're going to need in order to be successful at teaching science in first grade is you need to know your NGSS standards. So if you don't already have a copy of those, get a copy. I know that when you initially get them, they can look and feel very overwhelming, very daunting. I know the first time I was handed NGS standards, I was like, what? Why can't they just tell me what I have to teach? They look a little bit scary initially, but they're really not. If you take the time to really get to know them and talk to somebody who knows them, you'll find they really are very easy. They're very fun, they're very engaging, they're things that you're gonna have a good time teaching with your kids. So you just need to kind of take that moment to get to know them yourself. And so what I'm gonna do is give you kind of a brief overview of them to try to make them sound a little less scary right now. So there's basically 3 science components and then a engineering component to it that you're going to be teaching. So in NGSS, there's 3 scientific standards that we're gonna really focus on. The first of which is patterns and cycles. So that's looking specifically at like the earth and its movement and how that affects the things around us. So how long is daylight? What happens with the seasons? Where the moon is, where the sun is, where the stars are placed in the sky at different times of the year, at different times of the day. In the morning, why is the sun in this location, but at noon in this location, and at night this location? You know, is the sun really moving? Why does it appear to be moving for us? So kind of having those conversations with the kids. You can go outside and journal the sun with them at different times of the day and have them see it. It's a good one. So then that's the first standard that we really work on. The second one we look at as structure and function and information processing. And again, I know that sounds really scary, but it's really not. Really what that's looking at is animals and plants and how do they use the adaptations they have in order to survive, in order to find food, in order to reproduce. What are those special things about them that help them to survive in this world, right? So why do elephants have trunks? Why do birds have beaks? Why are their beaks shaped the way they are? How come roses have thorns? Why are these things the way they are? So having those kids kind of look at those questions and try to answer those questions. So we're looking at that in plants and animals, and that's the fun one. And then we have waves, and that has to do with our sound and light. How is sound produced? How do light waves work? How do they change the way we see things? So looking at how those waves work. And then within all of those 3 areas, those are kind of the 3 broad topics that we're gonna talk about. And then throughout all of those, you wanna do your science and engineering practices, and that's having the kids experiment. That's having the kids work. That's having the kids get hands-on with it and really do science. Now that sometimes sounds really scary. Do science? I don't have science materials. I don't have a lab in my classroom. I don't have these. We don't have to worry about that. We're gonna get some nice and easy things that the kids can do, things that you have easy access to already or that you can quickly get access to through your school, okay? So we're not gonna be asking you to do anything crazy and expensive and out of the box. We're really gonna be using supplies that you already have available to you or supplies that you can easily get. So one of the ways you can do this is using Mystery Science. So Mystery Science is a program that we use as one of our resources. It's a great way to help meet all of these standards. So you can come up with your own experiments and designs, but if you're jumping off and starting and I need somewhere to start, I don't know where to begin, this is overwhelming, it's a lot. It's not overwhelming, it's not hard. This is a great place to get your feet wet. So if you start with Mystery Science, you can go right onto their website and you can download their pacing guide for your grade level. So I have the first grade one because that's what we teach. And it basically shows you, okay, here's 6 to 9 weeks worth of materials and resources and videos and experiments and things that your kids can do to really understand those standards, to really get inside of them. And it'll walk you step by step through. They're really fun, really engaging, really exciting pieces. The kids really enjoy doing them. I really enjoy doing them. And you're gonna come out of them feeling a lot stronger, a lot happier, a lot better about your science background and your knowledge, and like, oh yeah. And you're gonna wanna then extend it. You're gonna take it and you're gonna build it better, because we're teachers and that's what we do. We wanna do like, oh, let's get it. But this will get you started. This will show you exactly where to go. So like when we get into that structures and function and information processing part, it'll start talking about our animals and how are they. And so it starts you directly with, yeah, why do birds have beaks, right? Having that question. And so it'll have the kids kind of start thinking about that. Well, why? What kind of beaks do we see? It'll have them, think about which different beaks can they observe in different birds that they've seen. How is a pelican beak different than a duck beak? How is a hummingbird beak different than a finch beak, right? And so they'll start looking at those things. And then they'll be able to start making some of their own observations, some of their own understandings of why a bird has a beak. And then it'll walk you step by step through a simple experiment for the kids that helps them kind of see what kind of beak is best for what type of thing. Why do birds have different beaks? What kind of food are they eating? Why is this one better than that one for these things? And so it'll have them do little experiments, and it'll walk you step by step through it. And it's not asking you to get crazy materials. They have a downloadable list of all the materials you'll need. Hand it straight to your principal and say, these are the materials I need for this lab. But it's simple things like macaroni noodles, Dixie cups, a plastic straw. We're not asking you to go out and provide an entire, 21st century science lab. We really just need you to have simple products that you can get at a grocery store, and again, that you can just, request from your principal. The district has a pacing guide that kind of tells when you should teach these, in what order, and the reason we have that is so that they just kind of flow easier with the year, right? When we start the beginning of the year, we're going to start with those patterns and cycles. It's a good time of year to start noticing with daylight savings, see where the sun is at different times of the day. So having those kids make those observations when you start having the longer nights, or as the winter, you start getting the shorter days, they're going to start seeing those things. So first trimester is a good place to start teaching that stuff, because they're going to start seeing those differences. It's very easy for them to observe. So it's a good time for you to journal that, look at that, talk about that, because it's something that they're physically being able to be part of. It moves into second trimester. We start talking about those animals and those plants and their adaptation. That's good because it's starting to get us close to spring, which will be a good time to start planting, so we can actually have the kids doing some of that planting and seeing, why are these plants different than these plants? How do they grow differently? What do they need differently to survive? That's when we start seeing all those baby animals appearing, right? So it's a good time to start talking about the similarities between, baby animals and their, parent animal. What similarities do they have? What differences do they have? How do those things affect their survival, right? And then at the end of the year, third trimester, we get into those waves, the light and sound. And that's where we have our common lab, and our common lab has to do with that. So it's a great tie-in of here's where we're going to do our common lab. There is a common lab that we use in first grade. It's about light, and so it's a really fun one. The kids really enjoy it. I enjoy teaching it. I enjoy doing it. It's great to get the kids out and seeing it. It's step-by-step set up for you on the district website. You can print it right out. It has the pages that the teacher needs, the pages that the students need. It walks you right through it. It shows you exactly what it is that you're going to do. And it's really exciting. So it starts off by reading one of my favorite children's books. So you get to read Where the Wild Things Are. And I know you've all read that book and you all love it, and your students will too. After you read Where the Wild Things Are, you're going to go ahead and start the lab. There's a puppet show, a shadow puppet show that comes, it's in the Google Drive. You'll be able to download that and show it for your class. They'll watch a shadow puppet show of Where the Wild Things Are. And then you're gonna start having some questions about, how did they make a blue shadow? How did they make a red shadow? I thought all shadows were black. When I went outside and looked at my shadow on the ground, it was only one color. Can we create a shadow that's a different color? And then starting and looking at, how does that happen? How do they make shadows move? How do they get it, from here to there? So you start having those conversations with the kids. And then what they get to do for their lab is they get to actually start to explore that. You're gonna give them different materials. You're gonna give them different lighting situations, so that they can start they're gonna create their own puppets, and they're gonna try to recreate what they saw in the puppet show based off of what they learned. So they're gonna use all these different materials to see what kind of shadow can they produce using material A, a material B, a material C, a material D, and can they start to see like, oh, well, this one makes a black shadow, but I could make a color shadow with this one. And so then they have to start deciding, so what materials do I need to make so that I can recreate that scene? How can they make it? And so they're gonna test it, they're gonna try it, they're gonna practice, they're gonna work together, they're gonna talk together, you're gonna have big group discussions, and they're gonna have so much fun, and they're gonna like love showing you and testing it out for you and showing you their shadow puppets to see whether or not they were able to recreate what they were supposed to do. So they make their claim on what they think will work, then they test it to see if it does work, and then they'll be able to, cite it and say, look, I think that this is how we're gonna do that. And it's really fun and really exciting for the kids, and the kids really enjoy doing that. So when you put all of these things together, science really isn't all that hard. Like I said, it outside, it looks daunting, it looks scary, it looks like a lot, and how am I ever gonna fit this in? But it does, it fits and it works and it's exciting. And at first grade, this is one of the first experiences for our kids to really have this science. And we know that science is learned best through doing. So we really wanna make sure that we're giving them that opportunity to do science so that when they get to second, third, fourth, fifth high school, that these kids are strong science students who have a love and a passion and an engagement with science, that they want to be successful. They want to learn more. They're going to come to you with the questions. You started out by giving them all these mystery science questions, having them listen to Doug, and he tells you, well, why is it like this? Or how does this work? Or can it do this? And then all of a sudden you're going to have all these little first graders coming up to you and asking you, teacher, how come this does this? Teacher, why does that do that? Teacher, how come they're like that? Right? And they're going to have those questions because you've opened up that engagement for them, that curiosity. And that's really what we're looking for, is that we're making our kids these curious learners who are going to want to learn how and why the world functions the way it does, and how and why they can change the things to make it so that our world is a better place. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful school year. I hope that you have a wonderful time teaching these units, because they're so much fun. You're going to have a great time with their kids. They're going to have a great time with you. You are going to do amazing. Have a wonderful school year.